Okay, we do get the white pieces and facing a 2070 opponent. Gonna go second move bishop f4 against one knight f6. Now gonna be playing e3, c5 knight f3, knight c6 knight b2 d2 is really the key move. He does play queen b6, which means we have to play something like knight c3 heading towards the Jobava London territory, and if he goes a6, ideally if he goes queen b2 we have knight b5, so usually they go a6 in this position. He does go for it, but now knight b5 I think should be quite strong for us, if I remember correctly. Now only move is like knight a6 for my opponent. And in that position maybe it's important to like play a3. Can't really tell. I think that's a good move. Idea to play like rook b1, queen a2 and then rook b3 with knight c3 trapping the queen. Perhaps this could be total nonsense, but I'm gonna go for it. Knight c3 is the threat, so he has to take it. And I'm gonna take with a bishop with check, and at least we get like quick development. Does play c4, but I mean there's like knight c3, isn't it? What am I missing? He's probably just gonna take there. But we're gonna be having a queen for rook in the minor, which should be winning, generally speaking. Should we rush with taking this pawn? Don't think it really matters. Yeah, actually it matters. Gonna go queen a1, eliminate this potentially annoying pawn on a2. And then once we do that, well, develop bishop d3 castle. I don't really like taking that knight on a6 because I would maybe prefer this bishop to eliminate this guy, but I like knight e5 in this position. Maybe he'll go like rook c8. I think I'll just, yeah, try to keep it simple. You just don't need to complicate at all in these cases. Like, we already won the game, we are up a queen, we need to get ourselves developed, get rid of this pawn, and then the game will kind of win itself. You can just castle, could also taken. Yeah, I'm just trying to point out, keep it as simple as you can. I think c4 is like nice, because he can't take, because then we grab the knight. We also kind of annihilate the play on the c-file. Could have also like taken immediately, that was right. Now this c5 move is kind of blocking his pieces. And yeah, we're ready to take next. He can't undermine with b6 because then the knight drops. I'm gonna take and play rook b1 next. Yeah, big threat on b7, bishop c6 like only move, but then knight is coming in. Idea is to take. Perhaps bishop takes on a6 as well. I think I'll just do that if he allows it. He does not. Okay, we can take and go rook b7. Pressure on the knight and on the bishop. So I think he's dropping perhaps another piece. Okay, he finds the defense. Bishop d6, being annoying. Can take another pawn. We just push this guy now. Should also like make a luft. Just something to be sure we're not gonna get mated in the future. Gonna play like f3, avoid knight e4. Also making a luft. You see that I'm trying to do as many things as possible at once. So we solve the luft problem and also getting rid of his knight e4 threat with a single move. I'm gonna go queen b3, targeting this pawn. I don't see a defense at this point from my opponent. And he does find the resign button. Okay, I think that could be like an instructive game. Let's actually see if I manage to remember the prep against this seemingly weird line. Like, queen b6 lines in general could either be really annoying or really bad, objectively speaking. But this one is actually very playable for black, as I remember checking it and I have like a separate YouTube video about it. Yeah, let's actually jump into the analysis tab and see. So he went for queen b6. I kind of knew knight c3 beforehand. And I know a6 is like a thing in this position. Remember checking knight a4 now that I'm looking at it. And I had this line in mind with b4. Couldn't remember it during the game, but I remember checking this as being slightly better for white. So yeah, on a6 actually knight a4 is easy. What you can also do is take on c5, because taking on b2 is not really a thing because of knight a4 and then c3, and apparently knight b6 is very good. Even if he takes, you can just go there and he's losing material. So you pretty much just transpose into the Jobava London at this point. I will make a series on how to play the Jobava London for white on YouTube. Like right now we're doing the normal London system one. And after that it will be Jobava London for white with Karo Khan. And it will actually be in 5+0. Because yeah, I want to avoid these situations where I get flagged and also like I get more time to commentate on my moves during the game. So yeah, we'll have to get into like a Jobava London, which, you know, let's say you actually get to watch both speedruns, then it will make it like really easy for you to switch it, you know, between the aggressive Jobava and like the positional London. I think that's actually, it goes yeah, really nicely together. So yeah, he just took on b2, which I can recall being a bad line. a3 seems legit. Perhaps there is this first variation, yeah. Rook a6 and then knight c7. I can recall seeing that at one point. Is it good? Looks a bit complicated. It's not really that simple yet because he has some checks, but okay, I mean, let's actually check what I did. He's supposed to play like bishop f5. I think I've seen that. And this was like weird. I remember checking this line, this specific one. It was weird because like the computer gives like a +3 for white in this position where you have an endgame. But I mean, it's just like completely winning with like, I gave this exact line on YouTube after knight d4 and c6. I said like white is completely winning. Couldn't really, yeah, recall any of that during the game though. Yeah, I mean, my opponent did not even find like the best defense. He played bishop to d7. And then we got to actually trap his queen. Yeah, perhaps it would have been better to play queen c1. Idea to just go rook a1 next, and if he tries bishop f5 this time, then there's rook b2 as an additional move. So queen c1 was better. I just had this kind of pattern of going rook b3, knight c3 in mind, and if he takes, I can definitely just take, and if he blocks, there's like knight e5 winning. I mean, making this move, it's a pretty bad sign. You can just take this pawn, and we win. And after c4, yeah, once I got a queen, queen is a queen, you know. Should rush with taking the pawn, that was correct, and then I also really like to throw in c4 in this position. I felt it was classy, and then getting c5. Okay, then anyone knows how to play up a queen, I guess, so we can go back into the live chat tab. So we'll try a London system with second move knight f3. And we see this weird knight e4 move, which I don't really know what should be about. I'll just develop. Just play e3. Never really seen the setup. I can tell you that. Develop like bishop d3. Feel like he's gonna play with f5. We'll see. There you have it. Okay, I think we play positional. Then we like c4. Yeah, we can trade those. Getting like c5. Can get it knight e5. And we can trade and just play knight f3, knight e5. Just like that. We'll try it. Like if I can just take that knight and then knight to e5, that would be like the dream scenario in this Dutch. So I think my opponent messed up a bit. Does go g5, but this should not go very far, and I'll just take immediately and get my knight into e5, no matter what he takes with. And it's really this guy against this bishop, so we'll see who wins. Okay, honestly speaking, I think should be breaking with f3, like that would be the easiest win. Kind of like queen g4 as well, and then f3. Could play f3 like immediately, then rook takes. Okay, I'll start queen g4, then this move. I'm not afraid of bishop e8 h5. And now we just make this move. He'll take. And now, how about this way? Could also do the standard, but I think I like this. Knight's defending really nicely. Would be funny now to just run the king over to the other side and then start attacking black on the king. But the king is actually quite safe on h1, so no need for that. Yeah, just king h1. He can play h5. I'll go queen g3, I think. And now I think we'll try to break with like h4. a4 maybe has g4. Maybe start this way. Then h4. Could go h4 himself. Now we go for it. Don't care if he takes, I just play queen h3. Goes rook g8. Maybe start with queen h3. Then we can like double up. Would be nice to bring all the pieces into the action. Maybe I've missed e4 on the previous move. I think I could have missed it. Might have very well missed it, yeah. Okay, he does give up the exchange, but there's like f4 in the position, I think. Okay, he's still fighting on. Of course. Now we have a really hard position to win. Gonna rook lift like a master. Gonna get rook d6. Yeah, I'm gonna get my rook behind the pawn. Really important. And we actually got this game in time, which is nice. But I'm not sure we actually went for like the best possible plan in that scenario. I actually think we could have gotten like a little bit of a better version, perhaps without queen g4. I'm actually curious. So we've got into this kind of weird setup. Yeah, I played normal, I think. He went for this Dutch. Went c4. I took c5. All looked like okay. He decides to trade, and yeah, I mean, at this point, I think he should kind of take on d2. But then the upcoming lines, I was honestly thinking to play a position like this, where I'm just stopping everything and I'm attacking him on the other side of the board. But maybe I have something even better, which could be taking on f8 there. And if he takes on f1, I'm actually ahead with knight takes on h7. Because knight takes on e3 is just bad after queen h5. And yeah, if he moves this knight, then rook is coming in nicely. But this is okay, quite deep. And I think generally as a strategy to keep things very simple, you can actually just take, and then if you get into this situation with good against a bad bishop, yeah, you're playing for two results basically. There's like no way to lose this position, and yeah, white's the only one that can win, I believe. Whenever they try like this, it's never really gonna yeah, get them too far. You can simply play g3 most of the times, and in the game, I went knight f3, g5, and yeah, I think it's just like nice to take and make sure that, yeah, you get into these lines, and yeah, it's just generally terrible for black. He went rook f5. I went queen g4, was okay. Queen h5 was like a bit better, apparently. Then I opened with f3, was okay, and yeah, just take with the rook, like, no need to overly complicate, and then take with a pawn. And now the fact that his rook is not on f5 makes this pawn on g5 much more vulnerable. This would have been more precise, and I have a simple plan. Go king f2, rook g1, h4. Yeah, white has an easy win. But instead, I've actually, yeah, took this way, which is still like all good. King h1, Queen g3. Yeah, he could have gone h4. I think he should have, trying to create a blockade. I went h4 now. He went rook g8 and should have doubled immediately with rook g2. No need for queen h3. I had knight g4? What? Look at this. Pawn takes with take. And if king takes, there's mate. That was actually such a beautiful tactic that I missed. Wow. Knight g4. In this position. How nice. And then the intermezzo. Wherever king goes, we take queen. We take queen because pawn spend. So nice. Yes, we can go check as well, but taking queen is even nicer. I played a simple rook g2 because I can't calculate, and then I took on g5. And then he blundered because I got f4 and got the insta win. So yeah, I think that is like a very useful tip to know against the Stonewall type of lines, when they actually allow you to get a knight into e5 and get all this kind of maneuvering around the e5 square. Yeah, try to remember this position. As I was saying, it's kind of the dream scenario against the Dutch, and you have multiple plans. So yeah, here generally you're going to be breaking with f3. And another nice position that you also need to remember is if you can get it in such fashion, it's also very nice. We then good against Pat Bishop and free play on the queen side. So yeah, I think that was pretty much it about this game. Okay, so we do get the white pieces once again against the 2200 opponent. So we're getting into the high-elo territory already, and let's see, he does go for this bishop g4 variation, which I've seen once. Perhaps it's also like a thing if you play, never mind. It's a different line. So I could go knight e5, trying to punish it, but I'll try to get back into the normal lines. Maybe I'm like missing out on stuff here for playing this way, because he's not gonna like play c5 anymore. Okay, I think I'll just do it this way. Okay, he does give up the bishop. I was intending to play g4 and then knight h4, hunting that bishop, but if he gives it right away, I'm happy. Could take with a queen. Idea to play like bishop d3, g4. Taking with a knight seems fine though. Getting a better grip over e5. I think we can just simply castle. It's not like the easiest position to play. Should be like comfortably better, especially after he takes. He shouldn't have taken. Now I get a clear edge. Knight's coming into e5. We get like really easy play. Very typical for like the Caro-Kann. Gonna go knight e5 and take with a bishop, I'm assuming. Keeping control over e5. Just gonna play like a3. Making it harder for him to achieve b4. I think maybe just queen e2. Keeping an eye on the queen side pawns. Perhaps one day a4 could be a threat. Let's go bishop d6. I think I'd like to support that with f4. I think the position is definitely like a little bit easier to play as white, which is like, yeah, really nice, and why the London is such a nice opening. Let's go knight e8. I think we might have to throw in f5. We can't take on h7, doesn't really lead anywhere, as far as I can see. Actually, I could throw in queen h5. Try to provoke like a weakness. Maybe it's like nonsense, absolute nonsense. Could very well be. Trying to provoke g6. Ooh, he does go f5. Ooh, I wasn't expecting this. Just gonna bring rook in. If he takes, I take with a pawn, trying to stop his knight from reaching the e4 square. So I take this way though. I'm actually attacking that pawn, so it might be just best to take with a rook. Yeah. Ooh, I forgot that he comes with tempo. But I can play queen e2 and now there's no way to defend the pawn, so I'm winning. It doesn't really matter he's coming with tempo because he's got like so many weaknesses. Can get rid of this knight because there's like knight g3 threat. Then take the free pawn. Still I have like a little bit of a funny rook. Shall we go for the a6 pawn if he gives this? If he gives it, yeah, I think we just go for the pawn, I mean. In this kind of scenarios, you have to grab. As scary as it may look, you just have to grab. We grab another one next. A4. We just grab too many. That's the issue with black's position. He still has queen c4 maybe to defend. That's like the best try, I think. He finds it. I'll go rook f2 defending. If e3, rook e2. Otherwise, rook c5 next and trying to collect some pawns. Okay, this is not gonna be an easy win. Okay, now I managed to activate actually. It's gonna be perhaps easier. King coming into c2, b3. b4 is even better. He'll try like e3 counterplay, I guess. Okay, he doesn't. He should have. Okay, we get to push the pawn. King is coming in. Okay, my pieces are way too active. I've got to connect it. That are just pushing. Yeah. No actual way for him to stop me. d7, c6 just wins. King c5 or d5. Okay, king d6, c7. There's nothing he can really do. I'll have to use my king to mate him. I always like to do that. Okay, and we do get the mate. Well, it was a bit of a strange game. We do got a bishop pair though in the beginning, which was yeah, giving us kind of a safe advantage, positionally speaking, and then also quite a big inaccuracy was when he took on d4, but I'll show you in the analysis tab. So yeah, the line that I was actually thinking about, it was something like, let's say this, and then knight f6 e3. I was trying to say I've seen it in this fashion, and people actually play e3. I think Magnus played f3 here as white, and this is actually like not like a very common line. It was tried occasionally by some very strong players as black, but it's not very popular. He went for this though, which I think should really be punished with knight e5. It's just that I wasn't very familiar with the theory, and I hoped that we could perhaps get into some of these variations where I was better prepared. Wasn't really the case as he played with knight d7, but I was a little bit surprised that he first of all did not play bishop to d6 fighting for the center. That was kind of the first mistake he did, and yeah, I mean if he plays bishop d6 it's like pretty much complete equality. There's still some play left, but yeah, I mean, was much better. Now I still have like controlling e5 square. I'm like a little bit better. And in this position, as I was saying, taking with a knight was safer, but maybe this was an idea, and the computer seems to like it, to just go g4, castle long, and yeah, just go for the mate pretty much. This was actually like very juicy. You see, he doesn't have the e5 break as he would normally have with the bishop on d6. So that's why bishop e7 was pretty bad mistake. It's like a very easy fix, like just place your bishop on more active square, but many people tend to not do that, as you can see. Took with the knight though, trying to keep it more kind of positional. He went c5, and still like in this position he can make so many waiting moves like a6, let's say, and it's not so easy to come up with a plan. Like I had an idea of taking on c5 eventually at some moment if the position remains closed. I'm not sure like how to play here. Maybe rook c1 is like, I was thinking about it as being interesting because we can meet c4 with bishop b1, and the computer is generally happy for this as black when there's like no bad bishop. Like there's if a bishop on b7, if there's a bishop on b7 and like a knight on d2, I would say this is definitely kind of scary for black. This is maybe like a better version, but still I would from a human perspective like white's potential on the king side, because how the game would generally go, they will just try to go a5, b4, try to play on this side, and We'll try to create some play against the king, and maybe it's not so obvious how we can achieve that now. Maybe perhaps with like bishop g5 and f4. But generally in these situations, I like to be the one attacking the king, because yeah, I mean, if we get the mate, it doesn't really matter whether they get to win a pawn there or something like that. Maybe this is also because I'm a King's Indian player with black, but yeah, I think generally as well it applies in this kind of French positions mostly. So yeah, that was sort of second mistake that he did when he, yeah, actually that was third mistake. Second mistake was when he took on f3, I believe. He should have gone h5, and then yeah, forced me to weaken myself with g4 and knight h4. And okay, I mean, he can play bishop e4. I would have probably taken and gone like knight f3. And you see that I managed to get the two bishops, but I got this kind of pawn weakness. And position should be around equal, but if you really want to like outplay your opponent, you should be kind of accepting this weakness in this particular position, because otherwise if you don't, then there's no really other way to like generate play. So it's kind of a small concession that we do to kind of spice up the game a little bit, but it's like a very smart kind of thing to do, because as you can see, the position is like equal with best play for black. But yeah, if they make some careless moves, like let's say c6 now, something really slow, like it's already really bad for them. Okay, now we have a weakness to play for, but let's say they actually go, I don't know, perhaps back with the knight to f6. I mean, we already get like a big initiative. I was thinking to go g5, but another cute idea is to just go king f1 instead of castling, because this rook actually may be useful on the h file. So just go king g2, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to actually do anything with black, as we are the one controlling the game right now, especially thanks to the two bishops. Yeah, so he should have gone bishop h5. That was second mistake. And third mistake was when he took on d4. Now I'm much better. I played it a bit soft though. Could have played it better. Maybe sort of delay going knight e5, because trading knights was kind of releasing the pressure a bit. Maybe just keeping the tension with like a4, stopping him from pushing b5. And it's still hard for him to like make any moves if you're looking at this position. Like, he can play rook c8, but I mean, maybe we can even go a5, try to fix these pawns, and he has to come out with stuff like knight e8, which is generally not a great sign when he's getting such like a passive setup. And just play rook e1. He's just like, we have nicer pieces. And yeah, when playing knight e5, that was like really typical, but it made his game like a little bit easier. Now, as you can see, went a3, played it like really soft, and on knight e8, first instinct was to go f5, which was still decent. Perhaps it's just better to play g4, and yeah, just try to go for the attack. Plan would be like rook e1, g5, and then just push this pawn. It didn't really look that simple to me. I thought going queen h5 is like smart, forcing g6, and then we go queen e2. And if he goes f6, like my thinking process was that we can take, and he's got like a lot of weak pawns that we can play against. But on queen e2, he can actually just, yeah, not go f6 and play bishop e7, and it's hard for me to actually maneuver this guy. And I'll have to come up with moves such as f5, and if he takes, then this is bad in view of g4. And white is just mating, because bishop g5 runs into h4. Wow, there's a very beautiful tactic. You can go rook f6. Even nicer, because knight takes runs into queen g5, and then bishop takes and mates. But he should take with a e pawn, and then yeah, it's, you can't really sack the piece, and going g4 also does not work. a4 is like the best fighting chance, but it's already a little bit better for black. So queen h5 was not really clever, but I just had this idea of trying to force him create weaknesses, because My thinking process was that, let's say in this position, if I make like a random move, I could actually just bring the rook, for example, but let's say I make like a random move. I was thinking he could get in f6, and maybe it's more of like defensible. Like, let's say go there and he plays like knight c7. But I mean, this is still like, looks like a dream position for white, to be fair. So not sure what was going on in my mind, to be fair, but I try to weaken him. That's sometimes a key idea in the London, that you just create that, and then maybe sometimes you just go h4 and use that pawn as a hook. Here it wasn't really working so well though. And once he got in f5, I was doing very well, especially after rook takes. Like, the other idea was to take with a pawn, playing against this knight, knowing that I can break with g4. But it's far from clear, since he can get in g6 and he has kind of a solid setup. We'll see, like, eventually move our queen back and then push h4, h5, open up a lot of lines, but it takes time. I just thought that playing against this pawn is gonna be like easier, and yeah, I think the computer agrees as well. Next would be like queen f3, g4, and there's no like immediate break, but black is kind of capped and has no active moves. So in the game he went knight f6, trying to counterattack and activate his knight, and yeah, as I was saying, we just need to take the free stuff. I'm curious how the endgame went though after queen c4. I think I definitely messed it up a bit. Rook f2 was a bit of a mistake. Rook e5 perhaps best. He went g6 defending. Rook c5 was my idea. I took and went rook f1, which is apparently nice. The idea was to play something like this and then actually sack the pawn with like a5, and he can go there, but I'm gonna get my pawn to a6, and this looks winning. Maybe it's like not so simple. Like, I'm gonna bring my king to e3 and then d5 with king d4, but am I actually in time with that? Looks like I am, because here there's like rook a5 move and then d5. That's actually a bit inaccurate. Should start with g4, but this is like really the kind of move that I'm missing in the rook endgames, combining this tactic that he has to now take and he's losing e4. This is actually like a hard move to spot from, like, let's say you really like take this decision in the position where he plays rook b8. You need to kind of see all of this beforehand to see whether the endgame is winning or not. So otherwise you just, let's say, play rook b1 and keep your pawn. So yeah, it's like kind of hard to judge during the game, to be fair. But yeah, you really have to see this nuance that you get in g4 now that wins, because d5 is apparently not that simple, because it does get king b6, and the king and pawn endgame are, I'm not sure, winning. It might be winning because we might be mating. Like, there's a common theme, let's say. Okay, if he goes like this, looks actually mating. Yeah. Like, it's really move by move stuff. Maybe it's not mating. Like, just to give an example, line here, king c6 should be the move, and it should be a draw. But if they go to d7, I think this is lost now. It's actually still a draw. Okay, now it's losing, but I want to highlight this trap, that if now they go e2, you have this motive of checkmating. It doesn't really work in this position though. That's what I meant when I was saying it's mating. It's not mating for sure. So you see, like, going for this endgame would already be a draw, and perhaps you need to keep rooks on the board and wait the two connectors with rooks on the board. I think it should be a win, but like, yeah, I mean, this is some kind of Magnus move, going rook a5 and then finding g4, and the position is like really collapsing, and yeah, king e6 can just do many things. Now d5 comes with check, and he's not in time to do anything, just take, and then you have your free win. In the game though, he allowed me to bring my king all over the queen side. Should have tried e3. I felt it during the game. It was like only chance, because after he got passive, I mean b4, and okay, like all the pieces are activating and there's no way to stop the pawn, so that was pretty obviously winning. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out another one from the same series, or if you perhaps want something from the black pieces, then you can check out the French video. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching and I'll see you around on the channel. Take care.